Alright, welcome back to another video of me reading r/Nosleep stories. The last video over on YouTube did really well, so I thought I should come back and do another video. I'm not going to read as many today as the last time. I'm probably going to do one story, but this one actually has two parts to it, aka got updated. So if you're interested, please leave a like. If you guys want to see more, leave a like, subscribe. I'm doing this all one take. So, every stutter, every weird noise you might hear, I'm doing my best. I don't have any editing software, nor nothing to really, spice up my videos. But if you guys continue to support me, and if I do become big one day, I'll be able to return, pretty much everything, actually have some pretty decent videos coming out. But everything is streamed live over on twitch.tv/JankyJohnson if you are interested. You guys want to come and... Hello, Luis. So if you hear me talk like that to my chat, I am live over on twitch.tv/JankyJohnson. Link will be in the description. But hello, Luis. Welcome back to the stream. I'm finally starting my scary story portion of the stream. I've been sitting here for 20 minutes just doing nothing, looking at Twitter, like I usually do. But hello, welcome back. Okay. So I'm going to start reading now. If you guys want to follow along with the story, I'll put the link in the chat and maybe the link into the description of the video too. So you can see how bad I messed up and how bad I stutter. But the story I am reading is called I'm a Park Ranger and I Found a Town That Doesn't Exist. This story is one of the best ones out of this year. I filtered it out of how long r/Nosleep has been. So, this is from 9 months ago. The thing is, I don't know if I'm going to be doing any voices into this. I don't know if I should try to make my voice, deeper, or, try to do, I can't do really a scary voice. But I'm going to try to read it to the best of my ability, and hopefully y'all will enjoy. So, I'm a park ranger, and I found a town that doesn't exist. I must be going crazy. I can see a town that doesn't exist. My name is Samuel Baker. I'm a Yellowstone National Park Ranger, and I really need some advice. I spent my entire career fighting wildfires for the National Park Service, and after 2 decades in the field, I thought I'd seen everything. But then about 4 hours ago, an entire town has just appeared in the middle of the Yellowstone National Park. And the other ranger and I are the only ones who've been in it. We're not alone, however, as you might expect from something appearing out of nowhere inside one of America's most famous parks. The town is home to many people, some of whom have been there for years, and they all seem perfectly normal. But they aren't aware that they lived inside a national park. My partner, and his name is Thomas, was the first to notice the town. He'd driven into the valley a few hours before dawn one morning and saw a brand new sign on the road. Welcome to Hungry Horse, it read. When he drove past the next bend in the road, he saw the motel. Then, that's when he turned around to come to get me. The two of us have driven up the valley together in our trusty old Chevy Blazer and taken a long way around because we hadn't wanted to pass through the town until we were sure it was. We parked at the base of the mountain and hiked up. We walked across the railroad tracks and past a small gas station with a lone oil drum full of diesel fuel and other filled with water. The street was lined with old cars, some of which looked like they had been here for a while, others which had probably arrived that morning. Hungry Horse wasn't a ghost town, or even abandoned. It was thriving. Thomas and I entered town cautiously, because despite appearances, the place could be dangerous. While we didn't run into any trouble, we didn't notice that everyone seemed indifferent to the fact that they just appeared out of nowhere. Most of them ignored us completely, although a few gave us strange looks. Some of these people look familiar, I said, looking over at Thomas. He nodded back to me. I know what you mean, Sam. I recognize a couple of people in the diner too. It's weird. It's weird. Those words echoed in my head as I watched a man carrying a bucket walk down the sidewalk. It's weird. I repeated silently to myself. My eyes followed his movements. The man carried himself with confidence and purpose, but he never looked up at where he was walking. Instead, he stared straight ahead and continued forward without looking back once. He disappeared around the corner of a building, and I noticed another person staring directly at me. He was tall and thin, wearing a black hiking jacket. His face was pale and he was bald. He was standing in the doorway of a small coffee shop. He reminded me of the missing hiker we had searched for last week. That's when I realized why I recognized some of the people here. They were all the people who have vanished from national parks. That's how we found out that almost every single person in the Hungry Horse has been reported missing from the national parks. We spoke to everyone we could find. Some refused to talk, others were friendly enough, but none of them knew anything about why they were there. As far as they were concerned, they lived in Hungry Horse, Montana. They weren't sure exactly when they arrived there. A lot of them couldn't remember much before even arriving in Hungry Horse. Hold on, I need to get the hydrate from Louise in chat. Give me a second. They also told us that they've been here for years. Many of them have been born and raised in the town and believed it was the real deal. They all knew the townsfolk by name and went to school with them. One woman, an older lady named Irene, told us that she had no idea that she had been reported missing. She worked at a local hardware store and had been living in Hungry Horse for more than 45 years. What about your husband? I asked. Do you have children? Any grandchildren? She shook her head. No, I'd never been married. How do you feel about being here? Do you miss anywhere else? Your family, maybe? Again, she shook her head. Not really. This is my home. As far as she knew, this was the only home she ever known. I tried to ask if she missed her family, but she just smiled and told me that her family was right here in Hungry Horse, Montana. We thanked her and left the hardware store, hopping back into our park ranger truck, and we drove deeper into the town. I really don't like this, Sammy, Thomas said. I had a feeling of being watched ever since we entered town. I looked over at him. He was staring at a man standing by a large semi-trailer outside the diner. The man was holding a jug of milk. I couldn't help but think of a hiker we found dead last week. Sam, are you listening to me? I snapped back into reality and looked at my partner. Thomas had started quivering in fear. Sorry, what did you say? I said, I think we should leave. I don't want to be here anymore. I looked around the town. There were so many people here, so many people who shouldn't be here. All of them were perfectly normal. Some of them even knew each other. How could there be so many people in a town that didn't exist? I agree, let's go, I said. We drove away from the town and back to the ranger cabin. Thomas was still shaking. I'm going to call this in, he said. This whole thing is bullshit, but we better document it anyway. I mean, how could an entire town full of missing people just appear in the middle of Yellowstone? I nodded. Okay, I'll be in the cabin. I think I need some time to process all this shit. I sat down on the couch and closed my eyes. It all felt unreal. I kept thinking about the hiker we found in the woods last week. He died while on a hike in the wilderness. He'd been alone and confused, but I just saw him alive and well, in a town that doesn't exist. I opened my eyes and looked around. I took in a deep breath and let it out. It smelled like wood smoke and pine. I stood up and started pacing in the room. Why am I supposed to make all of this? I asked myself. Is this some kind of sick joke? Did the government put a town at Yellowstone for some reason? What if it's not a town? Maybe it's a cover-up for something worse. I thought before zoning out. There was a knock on the door. It startled me out of my daydream. Come in, I yelled. Two men came inside, both dressed in black suits. Are you the one in charge here? One of them asked. I looked at him and nodded. The guy was wearing a badge on his chest and a gun on his hip. He looked like the FBI agent. I'm about to go talk to them, and I don't know if they'll believe me. What the fuck do I do? Okay. So that is the end of part 1 to I'm a park ranger and I found a town that doesn't exist. There's an update to the story, so I'll link that too if you guys want to follow along. Hopefully my reading's getting kind of better. You know, it's not the fact that I'm illiterate is that I overthink too much when I read. So I'm not dumb. I'm nervous. But hopefully it isn't as bad. But I'm putting the link in here now. So this is part 2 to it. Yeah, okay. This one has a lot of dialogue in it. Alright, I'm gonna take another sip of water real quick before I start reading. But honestly, the part 1 was actually pretty good though. If you guys don't know, I'm gonna go on like a little tangent right here though. But if you guys are interested in missing people, I highly recommend checking out the 401 series or the Missing 401 or 404 by the Lore Lodge. They talk about a lot of like, you know, missing people, hiking, all that stuff. So I find it pretty interesting. So you guys want to go and find it and listen to that, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I'm gonna take the sip real quick, then I'll keep going. I'm drinking some blue Powerade right now, so you know, probably not the best drink of choice, but it's something, and it's cold, so. Okay, part 2. First off, let me clarify some things from my first post. I was a wildland firefighter up till a year ago when I decided I need to change of pace. They weren't FBI agents. They said they were from a private company that deals with the otherworldly. I sat in front of 2 men waiting for them to start asking questions. So, do you know why I've been assigned to this case? The taller of the 2 said. You're the only one in the park who knows anything about this. I nodded. Thomas also knows, but I think you guys already know that. It's pretty weird. The town that you described doesn't exist. Not according to the GPS and satellite data. Yes, it does, I answered surprised. It's a lie, the second man snapped. The second man said. He has short blonde hair and wore glasses. We checked every single point on the map, every house, every business. There was nothing there. Bullshit, you can't tell me you've been everywhere in the park and haven't touched it, I said angrily. When I first came to the park, I saw the sign of Hungry Horse. I thought it was a joke at first. But then I saw the motel, the gas station, the diner, the hardware store, and I saw the people inside them. The man with the glasses nodded slowly. But we checked every inch of the surrounding area. We looked at the aerial photos, satellite images. We even flown over the valley of a helicopter. Well, maybe you should have to look again. Maybe you missed something, I said defiantly. We did. There was nothing there. It's not possible. Do I have to fucking show you where it is myself, I asked. Both men exchanged glances. Then the shorter one nodded. Very well. If you're so sure you've seen something unusual, we'll take you there. Thank you, I said. I got out of my chair and followed the 2 men out of the cabin. They were in their early 50s, both with short hair and blue eyes. They were talking quietly to each other as I followed them out of the cabin to their unmarked car. Now, the man with the glasses said, if you can just lead us to your town. Sure, I said. We drove deeper into the park. Our vehicle was equipped with topographical GPS system. Hopefully I said that correctly. Which made it easy to navigate through the rugged terrain. And after an hour of driving, we came to a hill overlooked a wide valley. We passed the sign for Hungry Horse. Did you see the sign? I yelled. The men just looked at each other. I'm sorry, what? The shorter one asked. There's a sign here. It says Hungry Horse, right? That man shook his head. I don't see anything. He pulled off the road and stopped right before the sign. He turned off the engine and looked at me. Maybe we should get out and look again, he suggested. I agreed. I got out of the car and went over to the sign. It's right here, I shouted. He walked up behind me and looked over my shoulder. What the hell is this? It's a sign. It says Hungry Horse, I yelled. He looked at me and glared. I grabbed his arm and pulled him over to where I could see the sign. Can't you read? He pulled away and rolled his eyes. Read what? It says Hungry Horse, I yelled. What the hell are you talking about? He yelled back. I pointed at the sign. Look, the name of the town. The man sighed. There is no sign there. I got angry and was about to yell at the agent when out of the corner of my eye I saw someone walking towards us from out of the woods in the direction of the town. It was Irene, the older woman from the hardware store. My eyes lit up and I pointed at her. Irene! I yelled excitedly. The agent turned to face the old woman. His eyes widened in surprise. He opened his mouth to say something, but before he could, Irene hit him and sent him flying to a tree. "You shouldn't have come back, Ranger," she hissed. With lightning speed, she charged at the agent with the glasses. "Run!" I yelled and jumped into the car. It was too late for the agent. Irene had already snapped his neck. I frantically ran back to the unmarked car and tried to start it. The engine sputtered and failed to turn over. Irene stood directly in front of me, blocking my path back to the cabin. "What the fuck are you?" I yelled. "You should have never come here," she said. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." "What the hell is going on?" I yelled. She snarled and lunged forward. Her teeth had grown sharp and she snapped at me, but I evaded her bite and rammed my fist into her stomach. "God damn it!" I yelled. I grabbed her shoulders and threw her into the side of the car. She slid across the hood and fell onto the ground. I jumped around the car and kicked her once in the ribs. "I'm going to kill you," I said. She smiled. "I've been dead for years, honey." I was about to punch her again when a hand grabbed my arm and yanked me backwards. I spun around and stared at the person who grabbed my arm. It was Thomas, my partner. He had followed the agent's eye. "What the hell are you doing?" I yelled. "Don't be stupid. We have to get back to the cabin." I looked at him and shook my head. "No, we can't run from these things," I said, flabbergasted. "What the hell is wrong with you?" He slapped me across the face. "Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Just shut up!" I rubbed my cheek and looked at Thomas in disbelief. "What the hell are you talking about?" His eyes were wide open with panic. I heard Irene starting to get up. "You have to leave now. Right fucking now." He grabbed me by the collar and pushed me into the driver's seat of the dead agent's car. "Get in," he yelled, "and drive." "What about you?" I asked. "I can't fight them anymore." "You know how many rangers they've taken?" he said. "Just get out of here." We just found out about the town yesterday. How do you know about this shit?" I yelled. "You just found out about the town," he replied. "What the fuck does that mean?" "Just go. I'll keep Irene occupied. Get back to the cabin and read my journal." I don't believe this shit," he nodded. "I know." I pulled a 180 and sped back down the road towards the cabin. I saw Thomas jump on Irene in the rearview mirror. He looked bigger than he usually does. He was standing on top of her, pinning her arms to the ground. "Fuck you!" Irene yelled. Thomas punched her in the face and she went limp. "Stay down, bitch!" The last thing I saw was Thomas running towards the town. I'm back at the cabin reading through his journal. There's so much I never knew about him. And that is the end of the story. And hello, Wolf. Welcome back to the stream. Sorry, I just saw your message right now. I think you came back in, but you you joined at the latter half of the story. But that is the ending to I'm a park ranger and I found a town that doesn't exist. I'm doing pretty well. Hope you are doing very good too. But yeah, that is the end of the story. There isn't a continuation of it because I actually do want to learn more about Thomas. But yeah, it was a really good story though. I definitely it was pretty good. I'm glad you're doing pretty well too. Yeah, no, I'll do a couple more stories. It's actually a lot of fun. I give a story a solid 7 out of 10. It wasn't the best, but also wasn't the worst. I definitely do think the idea of a random town appearing with all of the people who went missing in national parks is actually pretty good. I have 2 weeks free. Ah, sweet. I wish I had 2 weeks off, but well, I'm glad you're back to the stream. But yeah, definitely that story was actually pretty well. Oh yeah, also I want to get your guys' opinion on this. If I were to write a little horror story on stream, would you guys be interested in helping out? like Luis and Wolf. You guys don't have to be there though, but you guys are interested in me writing horror stories on the stream? Because I have a couple ideas. What the hell am I doing? Is my mic acting up? I mean, I don't know. I'm just reading scary stories, and this is kind of like my interpretation of trying to be a VTuber. So, yeah. So I'm trying to switch it up. It's a good idea. Yeah. Maybe I'll do it this Thursday. I don't know. Yeah, I used to write a couple of stories before streaming and stuff like that. And now since I started streaming and doing my art, I don't really write stories anymore. So I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool to do a little bit of both. Okay, so I'm gonna read a new story. I'll put the link in the description if anyone's interested. I don't know. Should I do one from today that's been posted today? I can always go to like the all time. Hmm. Hippopotamus, hippopotamonstrosity, creepia delaphobia. Yeah. You started finishing Outlast 1? That's really cool. I never played Outlast. Ooh, okay, this one's pretty good. Okay. This one is pretty long, but oh, and there's a second part to the story too. It's a horror game. I played for 5 minutes. I played for 5 minutes and I stopped. Yeah, I don't know. I was actually thinking about playing a lot of horror games on stream, but I never got around to it. I really want to play the recent Resident Evil on stream. And also, for those people who are watching on YouTube, yet again, I said at the beginning of the video, I am live. So, I'm doing a little banter with my chat. If you guys want to come in and say hi, links are in the description. I seem kind of schizophrenic to my chat viewers, but, it is what it is. I didn't like the remake. I haven't played the remake. I played Resident Evil 2 multiple times, the remake of that, but I haven't got around to play the RE4 one. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it for my birthday. I don't know. Maybe I'll treat myself with to a little game, but who knows? Okay, I'm going to put the new story in the chat if you guys want to read along with me. But I'm picking this one because usually anything that has like a homicide detective and all that stuff, like it's gonna be a good story. So if you guys want to read along with me, feel free. This is why I need a PC. One day, I downloaded free. Oh, yeah. I don't know. One day I'll get a PC though. One day. If I get lucky and I could gain a following, I can go and email Alienware and be like, hey, can you guys give me a free laptop? So yeah, one day. But yeah, the story is in the chat. You guys want to click on it and read along with me. This one came out a day ago by user. I need a better title. Okay. Oh, and also it's a series, so yeah, I can go and read the second part. Let me get a drink real quick. Alright, so the story I am reading is called I'm a Homicide Detective, and apparently things can get a whole lot worse. When you're in the business as long as I've been, you are bound to see some messed up shit. Trust me, I've seen it all. And a faithful husband angering his wife to the point where she commits a murder-suicide. Check. A young woman pushed into the path of an incoming train by an obsessive stalker. Check. Also, my inability to read. Check. My sister bleeding to death after being pierced by thousands of toothpicks, which caused the killer to so amply call her the human hedgehog. Check. As you can probably tell, it's the last case that I'm dealing with currently, trying to figure out how the hell the killer managed to get away with it. I mean, if you think about it, nothing adds up. For starters, the toothpicks had been inserted at a secondary location prior to her being transported and left for dead at the park where she was found, all without any witnesses. And then it comes to the question of the toothpicks itself. The paramedics at the scene found it impossible to move her as it would drive the toothpicks further into her skin, increasing the blood loss. Well, I actually did have an answer for that question, but it was something that I didn't want to think about. The toothpicks were probably inserted one at a time, over a period of several months, possibly years. Let the wound heal, then move on to the next toothpick. Which brings me to my final dilemma. Why? What did the killer gain spending months of their time piercing the skin of my sister? Why was it my sister in the first place? I don't know any reason it would be an act of revenge. So it may have been a murder of opportunity. Just pure chance it was my sister, which made it hurt even more. It was definitely a shock discovering that she was still alive after all these years, and seeing how she was treated only added salt to the wound. I was grieving. Yes, but the killer mentioned that my sister would only be the beginning, and so solving this case would be my utmost priority. I couldn't let this happen again. True grief could come later. And so I sat in my office, sliding my sister's watch over my wrist, and milling over these facts, with the first step to discovering the killer currently in my hands. A day after the killings occurred, a birthday card containing an address was mailed directly to me. Forensic work indicated that the handwriting on it perfectly matched the note left at the crime scene. While getting a handwritten birthday card was interesting itself, it still raised a lot more questions. How did the killer know I took up the case? Were they at the crime scene that night? Maybe they knew it was my sister that they had killed and now they were targeting me. As usual, it made no sense. But still, an address was an address. And in my line of work, you take notes like that very seriously. I thumbed over the birthday card again, looking at the cartoon giraffe telling me to have a tallsome day. Yeah, birthday cards puns are strange. I analyzed the address inside again, look at the word 12 Baker Street, as if they may have some hidden meaning that I haven't discovered yet. Nothing came to me. It looked like the address was just that, an address, and so I coordinated with my supervisor to lead a team that evening down to Baker Street to see if we could find anything. Anything down there. Okay, to see if we could find anything down there. I was secretly hoping that we wouldn't, and that this was just a wild goose chase, as I was terrified of what I would find down there if that wasn't the case. Later that evening, I showed up at 12 Baker Street with 3 of the finest men I knew. Thompson, a mountain of a man, who I knew firsthand could keep level-headed in any situation. Ramirez, not physically impressive as Thompson, but he had the brains to make up for it. His quick wit was known to save many a cop from danger. And Edison, an analyst both in the field and out, he somehow finds a way to keep one eye on every detail. I picked the best of the best to deal with the worst of the worst. Baker Street itself was a row of warehouse buildings in the industrial district. On the outskirts of town, all the warehouses were exactly the same. Large, rectangular, and made up of red brick and mortar. Mortar? M-O-R-T-A-R. Mortar? Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Almost half the warehouses were still in production, manufacturing different materials to be shipped across the globe, while the other half just all looked abandoned. 12 Baker Street was one of them. It had the signature. There's something worth looking at here. Look, smashed windows, rubbish piled around the house, bricks crumbling in a few odd spots, and doors that set slightly off their hinges. But this was the place. I set my jaw and motioned to the others while slowly making my way through the already open front door. It took a while for my eyes to adjust to the dark interior, as I was opposed to using a torch in that moment. I could hear the unmistakable sound of water dripping from the ceiling into a hollow object nearby. The air seemed thick and musty, smelling largely of wet cardboard and something more metallic. Blood. A tangy smell that quickly invades the nostrils while leaving no room for other smells. I pushed on. My crew, keeping pace behind me, Edison looked at me with raised eyebrows, and I nodded to him in return. This is the place. I had silently told him, be ready for anything. We passed through another set of doors and came into a room dimly lit by overhead light. In the middle of the room, basking in the light, there was a person. And I say person very lightly. The average person has a neck from 13 to 15 inches long, measuring from shoulder to chin. The person before me had a neck over 10 times that length. They were on their hands and feet, their neck sprouting from their shoulders like a vine and curling downwards. Their neck continued across the floor for about 5 more feet before ending with a neck attached to it. The person saw us and began to slowly shuffle towards us, slowly dragging their head and massive neck along with them. They moaned mournfully as they moved, and I could see trails of blood slowly pouring from what seems to be stitches every couple of inches along their neck. As they moved forward, their blood fell to the ground, spilling in all directions and leaving a bright red trail of wherever they went. The person groaned again and looked up at us, obviously in tremendous pain. "Dude, what the hell is that?" Ramirez said loudly from behind me. I kept my gaze focused towards the person, towards him, as closer inspection revealed. I don't know. Another animal-themed abomination by the looks of it. I stood my ground and watched, unsure what to do, as he heaved his neck and the rest of his body towards us. They made eye contact with me and moved their mouth as if to speak, but all that came out were more ghastly groans. I understood that he was trying to say anyways, his mouth shaped like a circle, and opening and closing, enunciating a one-syllable word. Help. I stepped back out of fear. Fear more than anything else I knew was that this thing couldn't necessarily do anything to harm me. But in the back of my mind, alarm bells were going off. This is unnatural. People shouldn't look like that, and you need to leave, now. I could sense my team behind me tensing up and shuffling backwards, probably going through the same thought process I was. Fear is a primary motivator in the person, after all. The person continued to crawl forward, further extending the trail of blood behind him. His movements more slow and haggard. His life essence seemed to be dripping away from him, and it was obvious I was watching the final moments of someone tortured to the point of death once again. A voice began to speak. It emanated from above us. Broken and distorted, probably coming from sort of PA system. It was calm and somewhat cheerful in the way it spoke, as if everything going on was just a normal occurrence. "Welcome all visitors to the newest attraction to the human zoo. A lovely giraffe created by slowly tearing apart pieces of his neck and replacing it with larger and more appropriate pieces of human flesh." I winced. That did not sound pretty. A slow process, yes, but look at the end result. Isn't he beautiful? Undoubtedly much better than his original form, wouldn't you agree, Jonathan? I looked up almost instinctively. That was my name. Anyways, I just want to say a big thank you for volunteering and rather a fine subject to add to my collection. I just know you'll enjoy wonderful things I have in store for you. The voice stopped speaking, and I became aware of two things at once. A sharp, loud noise, a metal striking metal. That was over just as it began. Came from the far right-hand side on the other side of the room, a gunshot. And to my left, Thompson's legs seemed to jerk backwards, causing him to kneel over and fall on top of himself. Blood spurting from an area just above his knee, a bullet wound. I did the one thing anyone faced with an unseen gunman in the room: duck and dive for cover. Fear is a primary motivator after all, and I was scared shitless. I found myself behind a stack of boxes, which, to my best guess, was blocking the gunner's line of view. I stood still, chest heavy from adrenaline and fear, and assessed the situation. Thompson was lying on the ground, unmoving. He must have hit his head on the way down. Edison was directly to my right, having chosen the same pile of boxes to hide behind as me. Ramirez was unaccounted for, and we had a gunman on the loose. It wasn't looking good. And then the overhead light turned off. Nothing makes your heart beat faster than the panic of suddenly being thrust into darkness. I heard the patter of footsteps ahead of me, close to where Thompson laid. It could have been Ramirez looking to help him, or the gunner looking to finish the job. I hoped it was Ramirez. I heard more footsteps, heavier, louder, more than one person. I contemplated making a dash for Thompson, grabbing him and getting the hell out of there, but he was way too heavy for that. I turned to Edison to see if he had any idea what to do. When the light turned back on, I looked at my surroundings. The giraffe man was on the floor, unmoving, dead, or close to it. Ramirez was slumped over a box on the far side of the room, dead, or close to it. Thompson was gone. The gunner was gone. Edison helped me carry Ramirez back to our vehicle. He had bruises all over his body from what looked like to be a fist fight, but he was still breathing for the most part. I couldn't say the same for the draft man, however. We had the rest at the warehouse swept. But nothing came up at all. It had apparently been cleaned of all evidence beforehand in preparation to our arrival, or never even been used at all. It was hard to fathom it all. I had just lost Thompson. I come back from a man with a 25-foot long neck instead. Thompson was out of there, looking like God knows what. Ramirez was in the hospital, badly beaten. Edison was shaken up, understandably. I was scared. Everyone was scared. But it was the words that spoken out of that PA system that bothered me the most. The way that it said the draft man's neck was made up of much larger pieces of human flesh, as if there had been more humans with them. And judging by the size of the neck, a lot more than one. There were people still out there beside Thompson. A lot more people. Alright. So, that is the end of part 1 of that. My favorite thing about with r/Nosleep stories is that you click on the little X and it'll bring you to another story that continues it. Okay, never mind. Never mind. That is the end of it. I think it brings me to that guy's subreddit. Okay. Well, that is the ending to I'm a Homicide Detective. Honestly, it wasn't a bad story. I just kind of, like, there's some parts that, you know, I kind of had to go back over because the guy did miss. There was that one part I had to go, like, wait, I can go look at it right now. Like, he forgot to put find in one of the sentences, which, you know, it's understandable. I can't type as well. But yeah, honestly, I thoroughly do enjoy that. I honestly thought part 2 would have came out, but I should have known that it would have only been part 1 because it came out a day ago. But I can't wait to see. This guy has a really imaginative mind. I really do enjoy the human porcupine, or the human hedgehog. I honestly think that was such a good you know, thing, especially with the human giraffe. That was honestly really good. I can't wait to see more of the series because I just really can't wait. So hopefully, you know, he can get back to making another story soon. But I definitely enjoyed that one. Hell yeah. I'll do one more. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm doing one more before I go on Dead by Daylight. Alright. Ooh, this one's pretty good. I mean, well, I don't know if it's pretty good, though. A lot of cop stories, though. And also, Hollow's End. That is a really... I really like that, I really do enjoy that name, though. Yeah, this is brand new. This is really... This is, yeah, brand new. It was posted, an hour ago? Yeah, 1 hour ago. And also, there's a part 1, so I'm looking at part 2 right now. Okay, yeah, so this one 3 days ago. Okay, this is kind of a long one. I can probably save this for later. But I really do enjoy that name, though. Hollow's End. That is fucking badass. I really do enjoy that one. Yeah, I'll come back to that one. I'll probably read it tomorrow. Oh. Huh. Yeah, I kind of want to find a story that, you know, isn't exactly too big, but maybe too long. Oh, this one was posted 31 minutes ago. How long is it? Yeah, that also is a pretty long one. I wonder, what was this one? This one's pretty long. Yeah, all these are actually pretty long, though. I kind of want to find, like, a little short story, though. Huh. The lean dog has come for me. Okay. I don't care how long this one is. Just that first title kind of got me. Okay. The lean dog has come for me. Alright. Let me put that into the chat. If anyone wants to follow along with me, feel free. I'm taking another drink real quick and then I'll go for it. Alright. The lean dog has come for me. For as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a vet. There was something about the thought of saving animals' lives that caught out to me. However, with my below average grades and a lack of any motivation to raise them, I obviously didn't attain the A's and A+ that required for courses at any university. Therefore, I settled for a slightly less demanding yet still animal-oriented course in veterinary nursing. I think you call them vet techs or veterinary assistants in the U.S. In September 2014, I started university. Honestly, I loved it there. I felt independent for the first time in my life. My parents have been pretty controlling, so moving into a student accommodation and being able to do pretty much whatever I wanted without the fear of them looming over me was a godsend. Anyway, this isn't really relevant to the story I want to tell. In January this year, I started my first placement. I was placed at Animal Friends Veterinary Practice in Hertfordshire, only a 30-minute bus drive from my uni. It was ideal. All the staff welcomed me with open arms and made sure I got plenty of experience to write about for my reflective log every week. The first month flew by. I was doing pretty much everything a regular veterinarian nurse was doing. Checking in on the patients, giving them some much needed TLC, and of course dealing with some of the more tragic and morbid cases that every vet practice gets. But we could have never expected Charlie, though. Charlie's owners were a couple in their late 60s. The first time they brought him in, they were worried. They were worried sick about their poor boy not eating, struggling to go to the bathroom, and generally looking depressed. The vet was sympathetic and suggested that Charlie be admitted for blood work and some fluids. They accepted, and Charlie was brought through us in a general practice room. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. My neighbors are talking, so if you can hear them, ignore them. I think I have my window open. Yeah, I do. The only word I can use to describe the dog is decrepit. He looked like he had far surpassed the usual 14 years a dog can live for. Charlie's bottom teeth stuck out of his jaw in an almost impossible manner. His fur was deep black and tinged with dramatic gray clumps in several areas. The weirdest thing about Charlie was his eyes. They were glazed over completely and resembled two huge uplit marbles. When I managed to get a look at Charlie's file on the online database, his profile picture put him as 22 years old. I can't say I was surprised. I mean, he certainly looked his age. We've seen many extremely elderly dogs in here, but 22 years was a milestone animal friends hadn't come across as long as any of the vet's receptionists could remember. I cannot speak. I am sorry about that. Charlie was placed down at an examination table and stood there for a moment on his spindly legs, shaking constantly as the vet prepped a syringe and sample tubes. I slowly approached Charlie and called him calmingly. I'm not sure why, as he was probably both deaf and blind at his age, but part of my job was to make the animals feel comfortable. So I stroked him and cooed him for a few minutes before hugging him to my chest and restraining him while the vet took blood. I still remember how cold he was. It was like holding a corpse. I could feel every bone protruding from his tiny frame, and he kept stiller than any dog has ever been, as the vet prodded around trying to find a vein. I'd never seen anything like that. I'd never seen anything like it. It was as if he felt no pain at all. It took a good 20 minutes for the vet to collect enough thick, dark blood to fill the sample tubes and then attach an IV drip as he took them up to his lab. I was left to bandage his arm. Widening the small piece of cotton around his arm, I noticed Charlie was staring right into my eyes. I don't know how I could tell. His eyes were pretty much completely translucent with no pupil, even visible, but he was. I could feel his gaze. Worse still. As I looked back, a red tinge began to form in them. As if rising from the center of coming up towards the surface just then, the weirdest smell hit me. It was like the smell of a fireplace that hasn't been dusted out in a while. A pervasive smell of soot and ash. I knew that then something about Charlie wasn't right. I quickly scooped him up, and the bag of IV fluids flew. The bag of IV fluids. Wait, what? I quickly scooped him up, and the bag of the IV fluids flew into my arm and took him into the kennels, putting down a nice cozy bed for him and a bowl of food and water. I didn't see Charlie for another 5 weeks. I was off the next day, and apparently all the blood had came back normal, so he was sent home with some instructions to try and feed him his favorite foods just to make sure he wasn't eating something. It was the end of March, and Charlie was brought in again. According to the vet that saw him, his owners didn't look so worried this time. They were more exasperated than anything. They said Charlie still wasn't eating or even drinking and was completely unwilling to do any form of exercise. He was admitted to the hospital again. This time, the same vet set up the x-ray machine to see if there was any kind of internal blockage that was making Charlie unwell. To our expectations, he needed no anesthetic. As we laid him on the cold metal table and placed him in the required position. He stayed there, and I'd never seen a dog so compliant. So, still, it made everything easier, yes, but it thoroughly baffled me, both me and the vet. I made sure to never look into his horrible eyes again. X-rays show nothing untoward. Every organ was visible and looked the way just normal dogs looked. The vet stood there with his head resting on a closed fist, staring at the image for what I can imagine was a good 10 minutes. While he did this, I picked up Charlie from the table, and now the curiosity felt his abdomen. God, that feeling still haunts me. His temperature read normal on all the thermometers we use. It felt like I was feeling a bag of chilled meat. I felt as if I could have been sick right then and there. Finally, the vet told me that there was nothing. I could hook him up to an IV drip and put him away in the kennel. There was something different about the way he said it that time, though, as if all the hope for his dog had gone. He shook his head somberly as he spoke, and I remember asking if I could warm the IV bag a little to try and bring up his temperature up. What the vet said showed me worse than what What the vet said showed me worse than Charlie had. I guess so, but that dog is dead. Charlie was discharged from the hospital from the second time later last week. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Yeah, start again. So I'm trying to read this, but I don't know what it is, my eyes or something. I'll keep going though. But yeah, I guess so. But that dog is dead. Charlie was discharged from the hospital a second time later that week. Nothing we did helped him. He was still refusing any of the food we gave him. He didn't pass anything and stayed just as horribly cold as he was when we first saw him. Worse still, the same vet that has been treating Charlie became obsessed with him. Not with finding a cure for him or finding out what his deal. No, it was stranger than that. The vet began to mutter his name when he thought nobody was listening. I heard him one day on our lunch break. He sat motionless, staring into his untouched food, murmuring things like, "Charlie's dead," and "nothing can bring him back." I thought maybe he was trying to start a conversation at first, so I replied optimistically, "No answer." There were only the phrases I could make out fully as he was starting to whispering gibberish to himself again. He was seriously losing it. Some of the nurses told me that he had walked out on several of his shifts, only to return the next morning saying that there had been an emergency at home. Personally, I suspected that the case had seriously depressed him. Losing a patient was always hard, but knowing nothing you were doing was making any difference, that takes a serious toll on someone. I couldn't even imagine how he must be feeling. What if Charlie's owners were blaming him for his condition? Why were they threatening him? Were they threatening him? None of my questions would be answered. A few days later, the vet quit his job. He said he didn't want to be in the profession anymore, that he couldn't deal with the guilt and suffering. We were all heartbroken. We lost what had been a vibrant and supportive co-worker, and the president had lost one of his key workers. Hold on, I'm gonna get a drink real quick. As a result of him leaving so suddenly, we were obliged to call up all of our customers who had regular appointments with a certain vet to tell them the bad news. Most were very sad, claiming he was always so enthusiastic about his job, and he always treated them with kindness. One, however, was just a bit different. Mrs. Murray. Mrs. Murray had weekly appointments with her cat, Lincoln, and told me that she was just in last Monday. Her voice was shaky, the same way someone is when they're holding back tears, and in the voice she told me how cold and unmoved the vet was that day. She said that he had told her that there was no use in holding on to Lincoln. He would only die. There was no use postponing the inevitable. My stomach lurched inside me. I didn't know what to say for a good few seconds. In the end, I could only apologize for his behavior. We couldn't discuss internal matters with customers, so I couldn't even tell her that he had been depressed. She thanked me for my concern, but regretfully announced that she would not be coming back. After an appointment like that, I couldn't blame her. I would probably take my pet out there as fast as I could if a vet, a person who was supposed to help pets live as long as possible, told me that the cat was good as dead. Around 2 weeks later, we hired another vet, a lovely Dutch lady in her mid-20s who just finished a PhD. We learned soon through her ramblings that she was obsessed with a British folklore, and we listened as she talked about kelpies, willow whips, and other things that I can't remember. All in all, she was a lovely lady, eccentric but lovely. We got on so well that we were even arranging the nights out and lunches together on our days off. If only I'd known, God. If only I put the two and two together and I realized I could have saved her. She'd still be here. I could have told her not to see him. That horrible, wretched dog. As you probably guessed, she was booked for an appointment with Charlie's owners. As she brought him through to a general practice for what would be his third time, we all heard the talk that she had with the owners. I remember how shocked and horrified she sounded as she told us that the owners didn't even seem to care about the dog. We were all dumbfounded as she said that the topic of euthanization had been brought up. They suddenly shouted a firm "No!" and growled that their dog cannot die. If an owner doesn't want to believe that their dog is sick, then there's nothing we can do but carry on treating it until natural causes take it. I knew they wouldn't take the dog. Something inside me snapped that day, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt that this dog wasn't normal. I was beginning to lose hope that Charlie would ever get better or even die. I would have asked not to work with that dog again, but my placement ended that week. So I was spared those cold dead eyes for 6 months while I went back to university. Me and my new vet still kept in contact. We texted back and forth about random stuff like there had been an angry patient or any of her cases. I haven't heard anything about Charlie, so I hope the owners had just given up taking him home for the last time. I was so wrong to be optimistic. In July, my curiosity got better of me, and I just had to know if she had seen Charlie again. Here are a few text messages we sent on the subject. So at 1806, me. Anything else on Charlie? I'm so glad I can't speak, what the fuck? Yeah, again, sorry about that. Anything else on Charlie? I'm so glad I don't have to work with him anymore. Okay. So her name is Ante? Antje. Antje? I'm just gonna call her, Auntie. You're lucky. Him and his owners are a nightmare. He's like the lean dog of Tring. He just will not die. And that was at 1808. 1809. Me. Lean dog of Tring? Isn't that like 3 miles from here? At 1810. Auntie. Yes, it's an old folklore. I learned it at school. He's a black dog people say is the spirit of a chimney sweeper, and he roams around the streets. At 1810. B. That's really fucking strange. I always thought that dogs smell like soot. At 1812. Auntie. Me too. His owners said he sleeps by the fire to keep warm, so I thought it was just because of that. At 1813. Me. With how cold he is, I'm not surprised he likes the fire. God, this is so creepy. At 1815. 1815. Auntie. Dogs are a mysterious animal. He is booked in for lobotomy on Friday. Wish I had my favorite nurse here to help me. At 1816, a lobotomy on a 22-year-old dog. At 1817, Auntie. Yes, we all advised against it, but blood results came back with no indication anesthetic would be dangerous, so the owners wanted to try it. Is it bad that I hope this puts him out of his misery? I'm a horrible vet. At 1819, me. Not all, aunt. Aunt. I hope so too. 2 weeks later, at the end of my module exams, I was getting no response from any of my texts to aunt. I was burning with curiosity over what happened to Charlie and whether she had found anything. Most of all, I was worried as hell. I resorted to texting one of the vet nurses and asking if she was okay. Thankfully, she replied with a yes. The surgery found no foreign objects, no cancer, nothing. Charlie had been dismissed, and they haven't heard from him since. Not even 20 minutes after hearing from the vet nurse, my phone rang. It was the number of a main surgery. Upon picking it up, I heard the familiar Scots accent of the practicing manager. The somber tone in her voice immediately gave me a feeling of dread. Michael, the vet who had left during my last placement, was found dead in the River Colne in the south of town. Everything fell into place after that. This was Charlie's fault. Everything that goddamn dog touches is good as dead. After giving my condolences and quickly promising I would drop in soon, I immediately called Auntie's phone. My whole body was shaking so much that I could barely type in a number. I tried 3 times before finally I heard her pick her. I can't speak. I tried 3 times before I finally heard her pick up the phone. And when I did, she was sobbing. And when she did, I started sobbing uncontrollably. I cried that I've been so worried about her, that I was so afraid something horrible had happened to her after what had happened to Michael, and I thought it was all related to Charlie. When I calmed myself down, I waited for her response. What I heard from her sent a shockwave throughout my body. The lean dog has come for me. I have to go. Just like that, she was gone. No amount of my scream stopped her from hanging up. I never heard from her again. Nobody did. I got a call from the practice manager only a week later informing me that Auntie has been found dead in an alleyway not far outside the practice. Nobody told me why or how she died, but they didn't need to. Auntie is gone because of Charlie. I know she is. One of the only friends I had in this world, and she's gone. The police interviewed me a few days later. They asked if Auntie has shown any signs of depression before her death. What could I tell them? That I believe the dog has driven her to suicide? I only told them that I tried to call her and she sounded down. But I didn't say anything about the lean dog. Sometimes I think that maybe I should have. Maybe they could have investigated the owners. Perhaps it was all one huge prank. I recently withdrawn from university. After everything that's happened, both my parents and the course leaders understood. Honestly, I don't ever want to set foot inside a veterinary practice again. I don't even want to see another dog in my life. Seeing them in the street makes me feel like I'm going to vomit, and I go out my way to even just avoid going outside altogether now. Worst of all, I've been having these awful nightmares. A pair of red eyes staring at me from every corner. No matter how fast I run, no matter where I look, they're always there, staring, waiting. Charlie is coming for me. I can't even escape the darkness. It's taking every bit of my willpower not to run out into the street right now. Hell, I don't even know how I'm still alive. Nothing matters to me anymore. I guess the reason I'm writing this is closure. Nobody would ever believe me if I told them both Auntie and Michael are dead because of some decrepit little dog that they saw at work. My parents would think I'm going insane. The police would think I'm yet another mental case dredging up the past. But maybe you will. Maybe you all can help me see some light in the situation, because God knows I can't anymore. Alright. Alright. So, that is the final r/Nosleep story I'm going to be reading today. So that's the end of, sorry about that. I kind of burped right there, if you're wondering what the fuck that noise was. So that's the end. The lean dog has come for me. Honestly, outside of me struggling to, kind of read some of the stories, it was actually such a good story, though. It was a lot better than I expected it to be. So, I hope you all enjoy that. Also, this is gonna be the final, couple minutes of the video. But I do want to say thank you all for tuning into this video. Last video actually got some pretty good views and also a couple of likes, so I was gonna say thank you all for that. I'm glad you guys enjoyed me attempting to read a story, and yeah, I don't know. You guys want to see more content like this, make sure to hit the like and subscribe. I don't know when this video is going to be up, but if it's up soon, then hopefully you guys will enjoy. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys want more, as I said again, please hit the like button. And even leave down a comment. Give me a couple stories you guys want me to read. I'll read it live on stream. I'll try to get a couple of my viewers to read along with me too, if you guys want. And yeah, thank you guys so much for everything. I swear. Bye, everyone.